So I just got done with my day building the oxygen concentrator along with the M19 collective here at Makers Asylum in Goa. In all honesty, today it felt like we were going two steps forward and one step back. But I am still determined to finish the first prototype in the next couple of days, finish the documentation and share it with the 40 or so odd labs that we have on board that will then take this documentation and supply chain and everything that we're giving to them to start manufacturing in a distributed manner. Um, One of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation with you is because, sort of by virtue of the position that I am in, sort of at the center of a lot of information and chatter that's going on in the field. Um, I wanted to sort of talk to you about some of the problems that I am facing, some of the problems that people are facing, and I mean, in all honesty, I'm not married to the one solution of the oxygen concentrator. I am somebody who's determined to find the right problem and figure out the solutions for those problems. And there are a lot of things that have come up in the last couple of days that I want to share with you. Starting with the oxygen concentrator that we ourselves are building. Again, I've gotten a lot of questions from people asking me, hey, is this something that is relevant? Are you really working towards the right problem? What about the oxygen concentrators that are coming from China, etc.? All the research that I've conducted in the last couple of days still motivates me to finish this, because it really does feel that this is something that is contributing towards solving the issue of oxygen concentration. I will get to why. At the same time, there are various other problems that have come up that I'm realizing is contributing to the shortage of oxygen, and this is something that I wanted to address. I have been speaking to so many of you that have responded because of the messaging and videos that myself and the M19 collective have been putting out. And honestly, like, some of you, even though I haven't ever met you in person, we're almost like best friends. I don't know, but thank you so much for helping me out. It means a lot. This sort of got me into thinking, can I crowdsource some of these solutions, get some people to sort of start working on solving some of these solutions, organize ad hoc think tanks and teams to combat some of these small solutions that can impact lives. Again, every life matters, even if it's a small problem that somebody can just solve and plug the holes. I think the cumulative effect of it will be profound. Ultimately, I'd want to, for the next few days, it's very critical for me to focus on making sure the oxygen concentrator is done. But like I said, I'm not married to this one problem. There are other problems that I want to solve, so I wanted to facilitate that conversation between people out there, and tell you guys basically what I know about the problems on the field. So I'm going to start talking about that now, starting with the oxygen concentrators itself. Now, you might have been hearing about a lot of people funding and importing oxygen concentrators from the US, from I mean all over, from China, from all across the world. But it's very important to understand specifications that are needed for COVID patients who are serious. You need a minimum of 10 to 15 liters per minute of 93% concentrated oxygen to them, which many of the oxygen concentrators that are coming in from China do not sort of meet that requirement. They are 5 liters per minute at 70 to 80%, primarily meant for recreational use and cannot be used for treating COVID patients. So that's important to consider. Another important consideration to make when procuring oxygen concentrators is the environmental conditions in which they can operate. The chemical, the zeolite, the sieve inside inside the oxygen concentrators basically act like cat litter, and when it contacts moisture, it clumps up and becomes hard and stops functioning and cannot filter out oxygen anymore. So basically, oxygen concentrators that are coming in from dry areas in the world will not work if they do not have a dehumidification step when they're taking in air from the atmosphere and feeding it into the zeolite to get concentrated. So this is an extremely important consideration to make. If you know people who are funding bringing in oxygen concentrators, if you know money being used in that way, make sure that they understand that these are the specifications of the oxygen concentrators that are needed. It's not just any concentrator out there that can be bought in. So it is 15 liters per minute at 93%, plus or minus 3% at a minimum that is required for corona patients. So again, going back to the concentrator that we are building, the specifications we're looking at 25 liters per minute at 95% oxygen purity. So there's enough safety factor to even hook up 2 patients to one concentrator. So this is one of the reasons why I believe that the concentrator that the M19 collective is building along with me is something that is valid, and I am putting all my energy towards that. Second large issue is with oxygen cylinders, but not exactly what you might think. So the government put out a circular some time back about changing and modifying oxygen, the carbon dioxide, argon gas cylinders to be used for medical oxygen and to be given for hospitals. But what I'm hearing from the field after a post that I put up yesterday was that even the cylinders are available, the flow control valves that control the flow out of the cylinders that go into the patient are not available, and ultimately without that particular device which controls the flow of oxygen from the cylinders are useless. So even though you might have cylinders, just because you don't have those valves, you'll not be able to use cylinders. So when it comes down to this, there are a few nuances that have come up. One is again, industrial versus medical cylinders. Do they have the same specification of the threading, that same specification of the output, basically into which the flow control valve is fitted? Is it the same specification? Is it a different specification? Does it meet the flow control valves that are available at hospitals? Can it fit into that? Because if you do not get oxygen flow control valves that can mate with the industrial cylinders, then what is the point? Another thing that I've been seeing on LinkedIn, again with all the countries that have come forward to help us with the oxygen shortage, shipping oxygen tanks. One of the things that was scary was that in none of the pictures they showed any tanks having regulator valves, flow regulator valves. So I just hope that the people who are involved in the entire process are shipping regulator valves with the current specification that fits into the oxygen cylinder along with cylinders itself. If you know that this is being done, again, please reply in the comments and sort of just ease my my tension about this. If you think that if you know that this is not being done, please reach out to the relevant people and tell them that, hey, we need regulator valves as well as the oxygen cylinders. Third thing that I wanted to talk to you about was zeolite. If the last wave taught you about what PPEs are, this wave is going to teach you about what zeolites are. So zeolite is basically the most critical component of oxygen concentration, which basically filters out all the other gases and only lets oxygen go out the other side, which is so the critical component for the oxygen concentrators, for the oxygen generation plants, etc. That's the central component to all of this. One is, again, because we are in this, we're not only making the prototype, but we are parallelly planning on how do you scale this, making sure all the labs that we're working with all across the country have access to the supply chain of zeolite, which seems to be a problem. Now, we've been talking to BASF, we've been talking to a lot of companies across the world about who basically companies that produce zeolite. They say they've been booked for the next 2-3 months for production of zeolite. I'm just questioning, where is this chemical going? Where is the zeolite going? Is it going to the right solution to the problem. Understanding the issue is not oxygen production, again medical grade as well as industrial grade oxygen, which is being repurposed for medical use. There's enough plants that exist in India, and the issue is mostly a supply chain issue. It is a distribution issue because of the large cylinders that one have to be filled at these plants, transported to hospitals where they are used. Once they're used up, again these cylinders are extremely heavy. They need to be carried by 3 to 4 people, loaded back into a truck and back to a place where it can refuel, and this constant back and forth needs to keep happening. And that is one of the reasons why there is a shortage, because of sort of the manpower required. And I'm just assuming because of people falling ill, people being scared of the second wave, how close they want to be with hospitals, I have no idea. I'm just assuming that even like manpower shortage to carry the cylinders wherever they're required is one of the reasons why this is a problem. So in all honesty, I don't think, again, oxygen cylinders are a great sort of application for the zeolite being used. Another interesting solution that came up is these pressure swing absorption plants, which again fancy term to saying, again, using zeolite in a specific way that produces oxygen, can be set up in hospitals themselves, right? And instead of filling up cylinders directly, are given like a large line is given to multiple patients. Again, this has to be validated in my opinion. Again, setting up these oxygen generation plants within hospital premises is a much better use of zeolite and much better use of time than scaling up production of oxygen in a centralized fashion, where again there needs to be constant back and forth and logistics involved. Take everything that I've said with a grain of salt. Take every single thing that I've told you so far needs to be validated, and this is where I really need your help. Again, I don't really want to add to all that noise that is already there, but if you think that the information that I've given you is useful and it has merit, and you think that it is something that can help out people out there, I can use your help on certain things. Basically, I'm trying to crowdsource some of these solutions and start working with some of you out there. One is research and validation. All of these problems and possible solutions that I've talked to you about need to be validated. It is very important to sort of vet this information. Is the data that is coming into me, are my assumptions correct? Is somebody that can sort of put data behind it and analyze the problem at hand and actually point to appropriate solutions. Number two is actually working on these solutions. If people are out there want to start working on some of these solutions, again, I'm honestly, like, I'm not at this stage, I don't even know if some of these are right solutions. But if you want to contribute, if you're an engineer, if you're an expert in supply chain operations management, communication, I don't know, just reach out. This is probably something that you can help out with. We'll organize ourselves, and we'll figure things out. Hearing horror stories and people sort of begging me to give them a solution where at the moment I have none. But I just wanted to say to everybody, I am just doing my best. I'm doing what I can do. I'm not at this moment not sure if anything that I can do is useful, but God help me, I will do my best to apply myself as an engineer, as a human being, to the problem, to hopefully come out on the other end. If some of you think that there is merit in my efforts and want to help out, please reach out to me, and let's work together and see if we can do something about it.